3, 2, 1. We are live. Hello. How you doing, everybody? It's your boy. With me are my lads. Technically, Alcazar is here, but he's actually listening in. So feel free, everybody, to insult him. He can't say anything. With me is my able co-host. One of them, anyway. Well, he's the one who's most able. Mr. Chicago Liberal. How are you doing, Mr. Liptard?
I'm doing alright, how about you?
I'm fine. And with us is a very special guest, TheBurgerkrieg. Guten Tag.
I should just, not say anything now, and then you just keep on talking. No, I promise he's here! And I'm just completely dead silent.
Actually, that would have been quite a funny...
Oh, that would be hilarious.
It's getting increasingly desperate. What the fuck, dude? We had an agreement.
So you were, one of the guests that Chicago... Was it Chicago or Alcazar? Which one of you wanted you on the most? Was it you, Chicago? You wanted Burger on the most?
Yeah. I've talked with Burger in DMs before, and I've always had a pretty decent time at it.
We've actually played, was it GTA together, Burgerkrieg?
Oh, yeah, we used to be on Naka's server back back when. Yeah, it was like GTA. We played some PlanetSide, a bunch of games.
Yeah. PlanetSide's probably the best of the bunch, just because there's more people.
We're in the second minute, and people in Discord are telling me to say the N-word.
Say the N-word.
Nice.
Yes, nincompoop.
Nuts. There we go. Nuts.
That's a lot of nuts.
And thank you for being a fan, person who told me to say the fucking N-word.
Naggers. There we are. That's as close as we'll get.
Yeah.
By the way, I can dole out N-word passes.
Selling them for $4.99, or you can get a yearly membership fee for $12.99.
Exactly, yeah.
I have a whole bunch of N-word passes. I keep them in a drawer, but I don't,
It's just one of those
for artificially inflating demand.
Just because I have them doesn't mean I need to use them,
Exactly. They're there when somebody needs them. You go to a club and they're like, "Can I see your ID?" You're like, there you go. There is my N-word pass. That comes from Chris Rock, doesn't it? Right? I think because he had a skit about that. Way back.
Oh, he has a bunch of skits about. It's one of his big things, the black comedy shtick, and he's very good at it too. Not as good as Chappelle, but there's very few comedians you can compare to Chappelle, frankly.
Somebody in the chat says, "This is not the Burgerkrieg. This is the Kriegerberg."
Yes, he is. Fuck! I am damn. He has
exposed.
Adrian has. I'm trying to say German words. I don't know why the fuck I'm trying to say German words. Maybe it's because I'm drinking water out of a beer glass. That could be the case.
It's pretty German, but I've done that before.
It's terrible. We're all drunk in Johannesburg. They confused me to say the N-word once. That was hilarious. I don't think it's a great idea to say the N-word in general, but also in the middle of Johannesburg.
You're asking to be shot.
Yeah.
Or worse.
Yeah, or worse. So anyway, BurgerKrieg is for those of you who don't know, but how do you not know who the BurgerKrieg is? He is a YouTuber that does, how do I describe it? Many different topics. So I
have struggled with this myself. So
I have as well. Believe it or not.
Suffer.
So you've touched on in the past politics, but also you go into more non-political stuff, such as science fiction in general. D&D, I think, is one of them, if I remember correctly. How to create characters, what are the best characters, am I right? Walkthroughs,
well, not strictly D&D. I'm not a huge fan of D&D as such, but pen and paper gaming as such, I'm
pen and paper. And then also you touch on science, philosophy even. You are a jack of all trades, but you actually kind of do master them, kind of.
Well, that's a big compliment, and I will thank you for it instead of doing a self-deprecating joke.
See, it's me who's the jack of all trades and master of none, to be fair. But so I was watching your newest video, and it did hit home a lot. Some of the points that you made, you know, about when I was young and invincible. You know that we hear that a lot, don't we? And I think I might have an explanation as to why a lot of the older generations say that. Is I think when they were younger, I think there was less. Ironically enough, there was less to worry about for them. You know, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have. Well, some of them didn't have the internet anyway. Most of them, and so.
Well, if we're talking about boomers, none of them had the internet.
Yeah, boomers didn't have the internet. So you know, in a way, their childhood and especially their teenage years was blissful ignorance in a way. You know, they only really got into the real world when they left school, or college, whatever. You know.
It was a lot easier to like not connect with the weirdness of reality.
And it seems like they had more of a net, which is why they felt they were invincible until they hit, you know, rock bottom. But that only happened as they got older, I find. And nowadays, you know, I've never felt like that, to be honest. I never felt that I was invincible and I could do anything. I certainly had high hopes, you know. I think a lot of kids, most kids are idealistic, but to say that I felt invincible is not true. I don't know if that's a millennial thing or not. I think Gen X probably started to feel like that, to be fair.
Yeah, that's the big teenage angst thing comes from the Gen X situation, but a lot of them still got the economic upswing of the 90s, and then eventually their savings also got evaporated. Like they were hit hard, much like millennials. And now it's just, I mean, it's a creeping process as such, and it's always been a creeping process. But this is why people compare, and I know that to a lot of people this comparison is offensive in some way, but when it comes to like the cycle of generations, millennials are compared to the which it cycles like every 4 generations, and 4 generations past is the greatest generation, the people who fought in World War II, which obviously in Germany are not as, let's say, revered as they are in the other parts of the people on the other side of the war, because they're a generation who defeated a crisis. Which is not like in the case of like the greatest generation, it wasn't just like the Nazis in World War II. It was also like the Great Depression and shit like that.
They went through a lot of hardships.
Yeah, they went through a lot of hardships. And millennials also go through different kinds of hardships. Obviously, we're much like the infrastructure to support our livelihoods is way better. Like we're not really hungry or something like that, but we're dealing with a whole different array of issues, and while we're not necessarily sent off to fight in war, we have our own massive problems that we need to deal with: the economic inequality, war refugees, climate refugees also soon, which Gen Z is also going to have a huge amount of problems with. There's the interconnectedness of the world, just the fact that the internet exists now, and we have this massive global paradigm shift as to how fucking information is distributed. Like there's literally people on Twitter now who think that their opinion matters. That's like that. We live in a world where people think that their opinion matters, and that is a new thing. That has never been the case before.
Yeah, I feel that gets kind of lost with some boomers because they feel like we've never had it so better, and you know, usually I find like they don't realize that we just have different hardships, not the same hardships. Yeah, as say they would have had when they were kids, or like the greatest generation would have had. Everything is, I wouldn't say it's relative; it's just different. You know, we're currently trying to deal with, you know, are we going to retire? Are we going to own our own home? Can we even have a family? Can we afford to have a family? I mean, a lot of the reasons why we don't have families, you know, we're not, I guess, breeding, as they would say, simply because we can't afford it. It's not that we don't want it. I've known so many people who say, yeah, I want one. I want a baby. I want several kids. I can't afford it. You know, that's
I mean, obviously, yeah. If you do want kids, you should want the best life for them possible.
I'm gonna say it's
yeah, I see that.
You
I mean, I don't feel like it's our responsibility to have kids, but
no, I don't think so. It's up to the person to decide. Well, the people to decide. It's not one person.
The people, yeah.
Oh, soon it will be one person. Test tube babies, which brings about its own issues. Like,
oh, I'd like that. I'd like artificial wombs and stuff.
See,
so like homosexual couples can have kids, advanced genetic engineering. I want the shit that they have in The Expanse, where one of the main characters just has 8 parents.
8 parents. Wow. So like,
yeah,
each one kind of has a part of his DNA in him that gives him a certain trait. Yeah. That's interesting.
And one of them's black. He's the whitest motherfucker in the show, but one of the parents is black.
Like that's crazy. That apparently that's a really good show. That I should check that out because
it is the best show. I just genuinely, it is the very best show. Like the very best science fiction series. Okay, maybe The Wire is better, but fucking The Expanse is the best science fiction show that there ever was. I'm serious about this.
Well, it's better than Star Trek at the moment.
I have actually, I've not seen. I've committed the mortal sin of never watching Star Trek. I watched the new series for like a bit, and it was meh.
Yeah,
like I wasn't really interested.
They don't get Star Trek, do they? I find like they want to make it dark and gritty when that's not Star Trek. I mean, don't get me wrong, Star Trek can have its dark moments, but the world is not meant to be dark and gritty. It's meant to be. The positive side. Yeah.
I would say that Star Trek can be dark and gritty, but it has to be done right, like how Deep Space Nine did it.
Or and this is my preferable thing, Wrath of Khan. Also, Katya wants Mr. Mitchman to introduce myself to the dum-dums who came over from Burger's Twitter. Okay, I am Mitch. We usually talk about politics on here, but not always. That's just my channel's usual direction. But I can talk about loads of different things because it's my channel and it's me in Chicago and Al's podcast. But for this one, we're not going to talk about politics at all. We're just going to chill out, relax, and talk about anything. It's very much, for those of you who don't know, it's a stream of consciousness podcast in many ways. There really isn't any set topic. I mean, there'll be things we'll want to talk about that happens in the world or on our minds, but then we can easily just devolve into the weirdest tangents, and that's where the spurging comes from. That's where, for me anyway, the entertainment value comes from. So anyway, that's me, Katya. Yeah. Sorry, Berg. I like to interact with the chat on here, so
No, I would have said the same thing. That she wants you to introduce yourself. Yeah, no. But what I'm saying, what I want to say is that I'm like, politics is not off limits. I feel like as a topic, it's just that I personally, I'm not a politics is extremely complicated.
It is, yeah.
Just insanely complicated, and I like to be prepared when I'm going into political discussions about
we don't really do debate. Well, we debate each other on here, but it's usually not prepared or anything. It's usually off the cuff, and we don't have everything anyway. But we're not going to do that here because this is a chill out version of Spurgin. So if you guys want to Spurg in the chat, go ahead. This is what it's all about. But anyway, so where were we? The Expanse.
Star Trek.
Because I've been thinking about that recently because Richard Dawkins got into trouble, and I thought, what he's actually talking about is Gattaca and things like that, in my opinion, really. Because Gattaca and Brave New World are like the dark side of what could happen when we get artificial wombs and test tube babies and things like that. I assume you've read or seen, the films and stuff like that, right?
I haven't actually read or seen Gattaca. I have read Brave New World.
Yeah. I actually... it's funny that you mentioned Gattaca because the only time I've ever seen the film was in a high school biology class.
Yeah. That's when I watched it. Like the idea that you could, normal, I guess, produced humans can become a persecuted class is kind of interesting. But whether or not that would happen in reality, I'm not sure, because I don't know if people would in the future have the time to do that. Maybe I'm just too positive about the future. Like I don't think that would be something you would even know about the person. You would never know looking at them.
Especially with science fiction, when you look at science fiction, people very often make the assumption that you just make science fiction that's a prediction of the future. But at the end of the day, even if it's sci-fi and it's the exploration of a certain idea, it's still just a story.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, The Expanse, for instance, is fundamentally unrealistic because It's like you have the Belters who live in the asteroid belt who are oppressed by the people of the inner planets to be like cheap labor, mining the resources which then get shipped off to Earth.
That kind of sounds like Gundam, in a way.
The reason for that is that this is the big struggle that we are dealing with in the modern world right now. It's the big class struggle. So we want to tell stories about that, but at the same time, want to have spaceships and cool stuff.
It does sound like Gundam. Have you seen Gundam?
It sounds like an anime.
Yeah, like basic. Well, yeah, it is an anime, but it's like
I can't do anime.
It's
or anything
not a weeby
animated.
one. It's not a weebish one. There is a
no,
weeb.
It's the problem. No, the problem I have. It's because the animation is the problem.
Oh,
I know
okay.
that there's a huge amount of just fantastic animated media, but I cannot stand animated media. I just cannot do it.
In general, like even Western ones and things like that.
Yeah, I've tried. I know that Avatar: The Last Airbender is fantastic. I respect the show for what it does storytelling-wise. I have tried watching it so often, it doesn't work. My brain will not accept it.
But I'll just talk about the plot, because this is pretty much all the series that they do.
Yeah.
Because they're all in different timelines and in different years. It's very it's not convoluted. It's just they do different things with the same concept. So you'll have either space stations. So humanity is gone to the stars, but it's still very early days. We're not quite conquering the galaxy. So we're colonizing the solar system, and we have people in space stations, like the Belters, and then we've got people on Earth. And it depends which way they want to go. Either the space stations are the bad guys, or Earth is the bad guys, or one space station becomes a country, basically, and tries to conquer everybody else. And it's just about things like that. It's just about war, basically, and just that basic concept from The Expanse reminded me of Gundam, basically. And speaking of anime and weebs, Fox Striker, a good friend of mine, he's asking if Dawkins had proposed eugenics. What if Dawkins had proposed eugenics so we could get cat girls? What is your take on the cat girl question? Could we get genetically modified cat girls?
I did a video on this.
Oh, you did?
A while ago, yeah. Listen, I hate to break this to you, but in 200 years, there's going to be furries, and they're actually going to be real furries. And that's going to be the least weird thing of what's going to happen with people
I'll be dead.
genetically augmenting themselves and their animals. It's going to be wild.
All I'm going to say is I'm glad I won't survive.
There's a very good chance you might.
Oh, no.
Like this, it's a big thing. Because one of the things, even if you manage to regulate this, right, like which the question is why you should, but even if you manage to regulate safe genetic augmentation, which there is no reason to believe why it wouldn't be safe to turn yourself into a furry, aside from just people beating you up with baseball bats. But that's not. But like there is no philosophical argument to be made against people tinkering with their own genome of their own free will.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Like that is completely allowed. But the problem is you can change a lot of things that way. And even if you manage to legislate this on like Earth or the Earth system as such, which would be like Earth and its space stations and like the moon, space is kind of big. Even if you manage to regulate this on all planets, you can have just any fucking 5 people at that point in a post-scarcity society can get themselves like a cylinder, put it in some asteroid out the Oort cloud, and then create their own weird furry society.
And furry Ancapistan.
Yeah, essentially. And what jurisdiction is that, right? How can you like decide that they're not allowed to do that? And even if you are able to decide that, how will you enforce it? Because space is huge, and it's pretty easy to hide inside of an asteroid if you're actually willing to do that kind of shit.
My take on it is nothing to do with that. It's the aesthetics that I'm interested in.
Oh, yeah, that's the best thing for me also.
Because I always joke with Fox and a lot of other people who like cat girls and fox girls and all sorts that they're not going to look like the anime girls, unfortunately. They're not going to look very human-like. They're going to look like cats. The live-action cats. That's what I think.
If we master the technology enough, they could look like anime cat girls. Although I'm not an expert on that particular subject.
Elon Musk will make it happen, guys. Don't worry.
Can't wait for Elon Musk to become like some sort of weird African warlord, but it's with a cat girl army in space.
Oh, it is an interesting question though. Also, don't forget Chicago, Heinz. But we'll ask you as well. If given the opportunity to in the future, how would you augment yourselves? Well, I would like I'd like to be like JC Denton, basically. Just have my eyes augmented. Maybe be a bit stronger than I am currently. Maybe increase my height a couple of inches, not too many inches. Say up to about 5'11", 6 foot. Actually, I just want to be taller than my cousin so I can regain that height that I lost. Yeah, that's what I would do. Nothing too fancy, no weapons or anything like that. I mean, I don't need that in myself. I can just buy one if I want to. What about you, Burger? How would you augment yourself?
It's always a difficult question that I think about often, because I like being me. I like being me a lot, and I would want to preserve the me that I am. All that being said, obviously, if just getting rid of senescence, so essentially biological immortality, would be nice as like the first big thing. But also, I'd like to just be able to eat whatever I want without getting fat. That would be a pretty great, because I love food. And just like in general, maybe getting rid of depression. It's my augmentation. No, but like in terms of actual augmentations.
So like every time you get depressed, it gives you
physical fitness,
endorphins or something in your brain. And it
I mean that's like, but that wouldn't be augmentation, because it's just just something that normal people can do.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't become a cyborg if you augmented yourself that way. I'm not a huge fan of the idea of augmenting myself with like non-genetic engineering to like cyber arms and shit. I don't know if I could part with my arm, even if the thing that I get.
I would only get it if I lost my arm. But I like the idea of having one.
But even then, I'd still probably regrow the arm.
Oh
just
you
like
could,
better.
You?
Yeah, you could just regrow the arm, which is just a personal preference, really, because I'm weirded out by that notion. I might change my mind in a couple hundred years.
I just like the idea of a metal arm. Anyway, Chicago, how would you augment yourself? How would you do it?
I would just try and, slow down, or maybe even just completely negates the biological aging process, and also be able to eat whatever the hell I want.
You're like quarter Japanese anyway. You'll age slower than the rest of us anyway.
Let's make it even slower.
It's true though, because I watched Parasite recently. They're Korean, but the people who play in the main family, the two kids, well, they're adult kids, but anyway, they're definitely playing people younger than they actually are. They're nearly 30. They're millennials like me and you, BurgerkRieg, but older than us. 1990 and 1991. I knew it. I could tell, but I thought, well, let's double check. And then there was another girl who plays the oldest daughter of the other family in the film, and she's in her 20s, but in the show I don't know what age she's meant to be, and I was like, wait. But anyway,
you have this with Western actors also, but this it is an interesting phenomenon. Like a lot of parts of Japan have extremely high life expectancy. Like I think it's Okinawa which has the highest amount of supercentenarians.
Yep, that is actually where my grandfather and father are from.
No. Yeah, well, I mean, the question for that is obviously where is the like genetic factors and the heritable factors and the environmental factors.
The fish diet.
Oh, it's
omega-3.
Yeah, it's mainly the diet, and that's actually why the life expectancy in Okinawa is starting to decrease quite a bit, because the American diet is starting to be exported there.
But you also have people who have like a huge life expectancy on Sardinia, believe it or not, and they don't eat American. But let's just say that they're not like very fish focused in that. I mean, they do eat a lot of fish, but they also have a lot of like unhealthy fats in their diet. Like it's like Mediterranean cuisine, heavy shit, and they live forever.
Maybe it's genetics. Who knows what it is? It's many different things.
Yeah, it's obviously this is a.
It's an interesting subject.
Is very complicated.
Oh, another thing I just thought. I want the laser eyes, so I can do the meme. Beep boop. I want to do that. I want the laser eyes, so I can like, I can change the frequency, so I can turn it into just a light that beams out of my eyes, so I can make thumbnails, or like I can turn into Cyclops. So if I need to defend myself, I just say, "Eat laser eyes."
You can just There's a super chat. Hell yeah! Should I read it?
I'll read it. Don't worry. The Invidious Envy, who is a follower, he asks, "If I could augment, I would not." Which is, it's your body, your choice, as they say. However, I would ask me, what I'd think looks coolest is General Grievous or straight up becoming a humanoid reptilian. Yeah, because General Grievous is an augmented alien, isn't he? In Star Wars.
He's a cyborg.
Then whenever someone says hi, I can stream General Kenobi at them.
It's like 500 years into the future, nobody even gets that reference anymore.
Who cares?
Like, what is he talking about?
You know, in the Clone Wars cartoon, Grievous goes "Hello there" at him, and then in this, then that explains why Obi-Wan went "Hello there" in the film. I like that. That's good. But yeah, he doesn't even have to use the Force, does he? I don't think he's Force sensitive.
No, he's not Force sensitive.
Yeah,
he just has a lot of lightsabers. He's
scary. There needs to be more characters like that in Star Wars where they're not Force sensitive, but they can kill a Jedi anyway.
Yeah, it's a very difficult problem that you have in the Star Wars expanded universe, where in some books Jedi will just be these almost immortal, invincible motherfuckers that will slay entire battalions in their sleep, and then they'll just be like a couple levels above regular human, and if you're like a very trained soldier, you could take one down. So it's very inconsistent just how powerful Jedi actually are, and even if they're the same characters like from book to book, you're gonna run into problems. I prefer it when they're also. I also prefer it when they're relaxed, like when they're not divine. Like you could take one down if you're good.
The way I see it is, I like the prequel kind of Jedi, where it depends really on the Jedi how powerful they are. So if you're like Yoda, obviously you're going to be as close to a god as it can be, though he isn't. But you know, he is that ultra badass, strong Jedi. But then also you've got people like the runts, you know, like the minions, who aren't as powerful, and that's why they get killed very easily by the clones, because either they're not as strong or they're just not as experienced with the ways of the Force and the lightsaber, so they just don't survive. Like, I think it could be like a tier level maybe, and I think that would help the canon a little bit better maybe. But they they need more bad guys or even good guys who are not Force sensitive, but they are strong enough to withstand the Force, or just Force users, or maybe even like Force sensitive people who accidentally use their powers, or they don't even know they're using the Force. So like they realise that they can persuade people very easily, but they don't know that they're actually using the Jedi mind trick. Like, that would be pretty cool.
I think there's a couple races in Star Wars that all are like a bit Force sensitive in like very specific areas. There's there's also Jedi in the prequels. They have like the horns that go down.
Yeah, and I think I know what you refer to.
Yeah, they can predict the future a little bit. So when the Republic came, they already had like the logo of the Republic etched into a mountainside.
Wow,
which is pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. I at this point, with the way that Star Wars has gone, I don't like much care for it anymore. I've seen like one of the new films, and I saw all three. I was like, it was like decent, but I'd seen that film before in like the original Star Wars film, and then they did it better.
Was this the Force
Rogue One I liked. I loved Rogue One. It was fantastic.
The thing is, they're wasting too much money on the series. Like, how many of the films have they had to double the budget because they've messed it up? Like Solo. It's just Hollywood at this point. They have too much money. Solo was originally, I think, 250 mil. But then they had to spend another 250 mil, or maybe it was half of that. Then it went up to about 250. So they spent all that money on two films basically, and it made a loss. And let's not forget. I
will say though that Episode 9, even though I really did not care for the plot or dialogue, I loved the animation and CGI for it, as well as the sound engineering. Like that was actually
Episode
pretty
9
good.
is out.
Yeah, it's been out since Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The best bit about that film, the only good thing was Yahoo! That alien.
Fucking Babu Frick.
Yeah, there's a character called Babu Frick whose only thing is to be a weird kind of droid thing. He's like a droid mechanic, and he can hack into them and make them do things, and he just makes weird noises. And you know in the cheesy bit in films where they go, "Oh my god, you're alive!" and they go, "Yeah." Well, he did his moment. It was like, "Yay!"
Yeah.
So bad.
Babu Frick 2020.
Babu Frick 2020.
Big memes.
Honestly, I'm surprised that film wasn't memed as much, but I guess the prequels are just... There is something about the prequels. Like, I don't like them, really, but I can watch them as if they're good films, but I know they're not good films, but I can still watch them. But with the new ones, I can't bring myself to watch them. Not even The Force Awakens, which I didn't hate. I just can't bring myself to rewatch them. I can rewatch all the old ones, no matter how good or bad they are. I don't know what it is. I don't know if actually George Lucas did make good films with the prequels, or it's just something about the honesty in which he made them, which helps. I just don't know. I can't explain it.
And the prequels have very good world building, and they're like eye candy. They are like, there's good things to be liked about the prequels. Also, they were trying to tell an interesting story. Like this whole, we're building up this enemy so we can take power. It's a very, like, politically, it's a very intricate plot, but we just don't get to see that. It's very poorly pulled off.
Yeah. It's the editing. I think...
Politically, it's basically Machiavelli's The Prince, and I loved it.
Yeah. Bye, can't you?
No, see you later.
I waved goodbye. It's not even my live stream. I usually have a webcam on. But yeah, I feel that I'm not a bit. I will watch the Star Wars films at some point, but I'm somewhat disconnected from modern cinema, unfortunately. I'd like to get back into it, but it's expensive.
Yeah, Hollywood
as hell.
is out of ideas. There's just nobody who's...
Oh, definitely. I am a big fan of shows. I'm hugely into television shows. I'm watching the second season of Altered Carbon right now.
Is that based on the film?
The book.
Because there's a film, wasn't there, by Ken Loach called
There
Altered.
might be. I don't know.
Ken Loach.
I think there wasn't an Altered Carbon film, but I don't know that.
It was a film, yeah.
Yeah, Narcos, the new Narcos Mexico season 2. I love Narcos because it's just mostly in Spanish.
No, not Ken Loach. Sorry, I'm thinking of somebody else. Sorry. Oh my God, what am I doing? Hang on. The Devil.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Sorry, Ken Russell. Sorry, Ken Russell. Altered States. I'm thinking of. Sorry, that's a completely different film.
It's a different film, yeah.
Why do I put the two together? I guess it's just the altered thing. So what's Altered Carbon about? With no spoilers.
Well, the premise is basically that people have this thing called a cortical stack in their spine, and that has like a backup of their mind. So if you die, people can just remove your cortical stack and then put you in a new body, which they call a sleeve, and then you just have a new body and can continue living. And there's a lot of like cool genetic engineering with which you can like make more bodies and stuff. And yeah, that's basically, and it's like the main character is a badass super soldier on like a quest to do things. The second season is completely different. It's still the same character, but it's like it's different. It tells a different story, which I kind of like, because the first story was done. Yeah, but I'm not sure. I feel like I remember that the first season of Altered Carbon started out quite weak, in my opinion, but then it got really good, and I'm getting the feeling that the second season is also this way. Yeah.
I think if you want to get back into film, you should just watch either some of the foreign ones or films like 1917. That was good. It's like
I actually have friends who saw 1917. I wanted to go maybe see it, but I'm not really on the up and up on what's going on in cinema, and it's expensive as hell. I just cannot justify the expenditure. Even though I do like going to the cinema, I think the last film that I saw was the Harry Potter one.
Oh yeah.
The second Fantastic Beasts one. That's over a year ago. That's well over a year. Yeah, I've not been to the cinema in a long time.
I don't like Harry Potter. It's just...
I like it.
I
didn't like that film, but...
It's cringy. I never read the books as a kid. I was always into science fiction and more teeny boy things. Like there was
I was hugely into Harry Potter as a kid. I read those books back to back several times.
I used to read history more than Harry Potter. I never had a Harry Potter book. So I was reading. So when I was getting into science fiction, and I think when I was 15, as I was at the age where I should be reading, Deathly Hallows and things like that, right? I was reading Philip K. Dick, and I think when I was 16, 17, I was introduced to William Gibson. Neuromancer, which is my favourite novel ever.
I've not read Neuromancer. I've read a different novel of his. I had to stop reading it because it was written in such a weird way that I couldn't stomach it. I'm one of the few people that I know that can actually stop reading a book. Because most of the people that read that I know, like, if I start a book and it's bad, I'll have to read it through to the end. And I'm like, no. If by page 100 I don't care about the book, I will just put it away and never think about it again.
Which one was it, by any chance?
I'm not sure what the English name for it is. And I also can't see it right now. It's somewhere in my bookshelf. But it's about, like, augmented reality and shit.
Oh, I think I know. It might be either Virtual Light, or it could be Neuromancer, because... no,
it's definitely not Neuromancer. No. I know it's not Neuromancer.
It must be a second trilogy, which isn't as good as the first one. So that would... Oh, it could be his realist one. Is it set in our time, or is it set in the future?
I feel like it's kind of set in our time.
Yeah, so it's either Pattern Recognition, Spook Country, or Zero History. Could be either one of them, yeah. They're not as good as his sci-fi stuff.
Actually, I was a big fan of... my favorite, like, sci-fi stuff is Hyperion.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about.
Actually, I mean, obviously, at this point, my favorite sci-fi stuff is The Expanse, but they're books. But at the time, I was all about Hyperion, which is great. Hyperion was a great book. Then The Fall of Hyperion is an even greater book. Then you get to Endymion and The Rise of Endymion, and they just are bad. They're just not good books.
So what are they all about then? Sorry.
So basically, Hyperion is the plot of Hyperion is there's this planet called Hyperion, and there's this area on the planet called the Time Tombs, and they're like ancient artifacts traveling backwards in time, and they're protected by like a weird monster called the Shrike. And every year, I think, people go, like, there's pilgrims who go there, and one of them gets a wish fulfilled and the others get killed. And so it's the story of, I think, 5 pilgrims and why they're going to the Shrike. And then in The Fall of Hyperion, it's about the war between AIs and humans. But there's so much, like, weird shit going on in Hyperion. It's so interesting. And then in Endymion, it's about the Catholic Church and how it's taken over the universe. It's literally, it's amazing. It's like the world building is really quite amazing, but at the same time, I feel like Endymion and The Rise of Endymion, while the stories are not bad, it's too... Like, they let Dan Simmons get away with too much indulging in his own love for classical antiquity and, like, English poetry. Like, he's a huge fan of John Keats, which you notice in Hyperion and in the Fall of Hyperion, but he just goes hog wild in Endymion.
Keats is all right. Nothing. I've read some of his stuff. It's nothing to me. It's nothing special. I don't get him. I'm more into Shakespeare and who else do I like? The American guy. He did The Wasteland. I'm terrible with this name for some reason. The Wasteland. Who did The Wasteland? Let me look this up. Sorry about that. The Wasteland poem. Oh yeah, T.S. Eliot. I'm into that kind of stuff.
Oh, I haven't actually read anything by T.S. Eliot.
Oh, that's a good poem. That's really good.
strange. I'm not a poems guy. I don't like
I used to be, not as much now, but that is a good poem. And I like Shelley, he's good. You know, like Ozymandias and all that. That's good.
Oh, there's like some poems that I like Invictus.
Oh, Invictus it's a classic.
But they're very few and far in between. I find poets difficult to read because they're about the words more than the content. Like, they're nice packaging, and there's good content in them, but I like a good meal more than I like a good praline or whatever the English word is, you know?
Is that prose? Is that meant to mean prose?
No, like a chocolate.
Oh, right. I think we probably would just call it that. I think. Yeah, like eclair and things like that.
An eclair, yes. I like me a good more than
is that an eclair?
Good meal more than I like an eclair. Yeah.
So it's one of those classic cases when the French word is actually different to the French-sounding word we use for it.
Plus, I get irritated by this notion. It's like poetry tends to be very purple.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of purple, like prose, and especially not purple poetry. It irritates me because if you're trying to tell me something, tell me the thing that you're trying to tell me. Don't be a cunt about it. Don't be obtuse. Don't try to hide things from me. Tell me what you're trying to tell me. Be subtle in the thing that you're trying to tell me, but don't be subtle in the way that you are telling me the thing. Unless you're building a mystery, in which case I will respect you.
There is a poem called Verses, or V, I think it was called. Not to be confused with the Romanian, obviously. Let me remember what his name is. V, I think it's V Poem. Hang on. V Poem. Yeah, by Tony Harrison. He's very much... I don't know if he's still alive, but he's very much a person who is straight to the point, uses a lot of profanity and things like that in his poetry. It's very much street poetry in a way, you know, working class British poetry. Another good poet,
I do like rap music, for instance. I really do.
But like another good poet who actually he's set his poems to music in the 70s and 80s. He's from Salford. He's not far from where I live, and he's called John Cooper Clarke. You should check him out. He's very, very good. He did a song called Chicken Town, which was in The Sopranos. I don't know if you watched The Sopranos. You might have seen that.
Of course, I've seen The Sopranos.
So you would have seen the scene where Chicken Town plays. So you would have heard his song or poem. That's basically a rap song. He's known for very rapid delivery of his poems and a very strong Salfordian accent or Manc accent, Manchester. It depends how you want to call it. But he's a truly great poet, and he's very accessible too. Yeah.
Let me Google him. What's his name?
John Cooper Clarke.
John Cooper.
I don't think it's hyphenated though.
Google this one.
I'm John Cooper Clarke. That's how he sounds.
John Cooper Clarke is an English performance poet. Okay, indeed. He's still alive then. If it says they're still alive.
He's a boomer.
Yeah. No, Sopranos is a great fucking show.
Hey, Mitch.
Yes.
Eat a bag of dick.
That's revenge. That's revenge for me gate crashing.
Yeah, doing it while I'm at school. I literally just got out.
Anyway, Alkazai wanted to say that T.S. Eliot is from his neck of the woods, which is St. Louis.
Yeah. He's from my area.
Yeah.
Condolences for poor T.S. Eliot then.
Yeah, that's why he moved to Britain.
Downgraded my opinion, especially if he moved to London.
Well, you know, he became a British poet, not an American one.
He's still St. Louis in my heart.
It's a bit like Jimi Hendrix. He came to Britain and became a success here, and then became a success in America, which I find weird. Like, have you heard of Zuby, that rapper?
Oh my god, he blocked me.
Yeah, I see him on Twitter sometimes.
Well, I've never heard his music. I don't even know if he even charts. Like, is he a success?
I have no idea, but I don't really care if he's a success.
But it feels like
because he's like a black.
But it feels like he's become a success in Europe. No, oh wait, he is British? Oh right, I thought it was American. Because when I heard him talk, he didn't have a British accent, unless I'm thinking somebody else. But
no, it's like on Twitter I always see him. He has like these weird right wing takes that I'm not
he's
into.
Some things he says are all right. Other things
He
I can
blocked
take
me
or
on
leave.
Twitter because
See,
I called him.
okay, so now my point's completely moot because I thought he was American.
Boom. Destroyed.
But isn't it interesting though that you can be an American artist and not make it in America, but then you make it in another country, then you make it in America, like Jimi Hendrix? I find that weird. Like, what is it about America that didn't accept Jimmy, but over here we did? As in the music.
It was.
Jimi
Hendrix.
Yeah. Like, why was he not a success immediately in America, but he came to Britain?
His rendition of the national anthem was seen as very insulting.
Well, that was after. He was already big. He was already big when he did that, yeah. That's a year before he died, I think. Or maybe the year he died, I'm not sure. But that was Woodstock, wasn't it? Yeah. But no, I mean, he was a success in 1967, because that was his first 2 albums were released then, I think. Yeah. And then, but then he went to America after he was a success in Europe, and then he became a star. But he wasn't initially in America. Like
Well, I mean, it might just be that he happened to have his breakthrough somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe.
These things are all. There's a huge amount of random chance involved with these kinds of things. Although, like, very often you will have situations where artists just appeal more to a certain demographic that you do, like to a certain culture that isn't the culture that is in their home country.
Yeah.
Like a lot of wrestlers that go to Japan, what they do just resonates with the Japanese audience more, that because it's so weird. It's just insanely weird shit that these rappers do. These rappers do. These
some of them are rappers. Let's be honest. They try to be.
These wrestlers do, which wouldn't fly. Not just because the American audiences aren't like super up for it. The classic wrestling audience, of course, because we have the internet. If you're an American who's into weird wrestling, just watch Japanese wrestling. But also like the big organizations. I think there's only one now. The WWE.
Yeah, WWE.
Would not let that fly.
Oh no, wait, there is X something. It begins with X, but I totally forgot what they were called.
All my friends in elementary school were so into WWE. It was so fucking weird.
But there's a Japanese female wrestler that's big in America right now. I totally forgot her name, but every time I see her, like every time somebody retweets like a GIF or whatever, she seems really entertaining and like quite a good wrestler as well. She's got the athleticism, the technique, and she's got the charisma, which is people forget that even though it's fake, there is still a lot of stunts and physicality involved, and you've also got to be a performer. You've got to entertain as well, which is why I do have I have respect for wrestlers for that. Like, you know, they don't actually hit each other. Sometimes they might if they're allowed to. Depends what wrestling you're a part of. But it's still, at the end of the day, you've got to make it convincing. And I think there's a thing in wrestling. I forgot the term, but basically it means you need to make it convincing. And there's
kayfabe.
Something like that. But basically, what happened was in Japan.
Isn't that just called acting?
Well, yeah, no. There's a specific phrase they use.
No, the kayfabe is like about being that personality outside of the, like when some actor
No, it's not that. It's to do with the moves. It's to do with, you know, when you hit someone.
Oh, okay.
You have to make it look realistic. Selling the move. That's it. You got to sell the move basically. And there's a clip from Japan where this Japanese guy, he's like one of the biggest wrestlers ever. He's like, he made it in America and he made it in Japan. He's known for a massive chin. He's got a really big chiseled chin. And like, he was trying to sell this move with this massive, fat, big wrestler, and he wasn't selling his move. So he's hitting him, and he's meant to be, you know, convulsing in pain, but he's just laughing at him because I think he didn't respect him. So he got angry, and then he beat him up in the ring. Like, properly went in on him, and he didn't get up.
Oof.
That's what happens.
That is a big oof.
So like, it's like a taboo. You have to sell the move, even if you don't like the person, you're doing a job. You got to entertain people. Funnily enough, him getting beat up was far more entertaining.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not hugely into wrestling.
Yeah, neither am I. I just know certain things because I watch other people.
Yeah, I used to watch Drunken Peasants, so that's.
Oh yeah, I used to watch them too back in the day.
So you just learn a lot about wrestling by osmosis.
Did you ever go on? Did they ever invite you on?
No, I didn't. I never.
I nearly got on.
I wasn't big back then. I mean, I'm not big now, but
neither am I. But somebody I know, well, I kind of knew the guy who ran the Drunken Peasants podcast page, you know, on Twitter. He said, I can get you on if you want. I was like, yeah, fair enough. But by then it was just Ben on his own, and I thought, well, it's not the same. You know,
I don't know. I like doing podcasts generally. I really do, but I rarely go out of my way to get on podcasts, which may be a dumb idea because I should probably try to get on podcasts.
It's up to you.
But I have no idea how any of this works.
Trust me, this is like my third. I don't know how it works. It just does. It just works.
Okay, I'll learn at some point.
I'll tell you what I did to get on here. When I first met Mitch, and he mentioned he kind of wanted to do a podcast, I just said I'll do it. When I knew him for a.
What did you say?
I was offered a podcast too at some point, and I declined. And then
am I cutting out?
Got big.
A little bit. I had to turn you up as well because people can't hear you properly. For once, I have to turn you up, not down.
Fuck you.
So, when you were discussing Hyperion, it sounded a bit like, this is probably the worst comparison, but it sounded a bit like Dune.
It is, in some ways. In the ways that... Hyperion and Dune are two of the big three science fiction books, the other being Foundation. And they all have certain similarities because they come out of this specific golden age of sci-fi. But it does have a certain mythicality to it, but not in the way that Dune does, where Dune just takes the mythical aspect of itself seriously, whereas Hyperion deconstructs it a lot. It's not like the characters that go on that pilgrimage, they're not actual believers in the Church of the Shrike who think that it's like a god. They think it's some kind of advanced piece of technology.
So it's very... what it is, right? Spoilers, I don't know.
Yeah, obviously. There's no such thing as magic.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but it's Clark Tech. It's so advanced. It literally the whole complex travels backwards through time.
Oh yeah, the concept that technology to say example, my phone could be considered a god to a primitive society that doesn't know what it is, basically.
Yeah.
I've always found that interesting. Maybe there's a theory that all our gods that we've ever believed in are basically aliens.
Oh yeah, I used to be hugely into ancient aliens when I was a kid. Man, I have read so many Erich von Däniken books. Damn. I think it's a great concept for sci-fi. Obviously, it's bullshit, but it's a great concept for sci-fi.
I just like Roadside Picnic, the idea that they just went for a picnic and their junk was far more advanced than anything we've ever created. It's just the stuff they don't want anymore. And that's created these strange reality-bending situations in Pripyat. That's just mental. I like that idea. Something so mundane can have such wide-reaching consequences. Which is probably why I like Philip K. Dick, because a lot of his stories start off in the mundane setting, but then it just goes mental. Reality is warped, but that's his mind. That's how his mind worked.
Yeah, he's very some people wouldn't even describe him as sci-fi because of just how weird some of the shit he does is.
Have you read Eye in the Sky?
I have not.
My god,
kind of also reading The Man in the High Castle, but I've seen the show already.
Book.
It is good, but having seen the show, it's more difficult to get through. Also, I feel like the show is getting pretty shit.
They still not finished it. That book's not even that long.
I think they're beyond the book, and that is why it's now bad.
Yeah, just leave it. Philip K. Dick didn't want to create a sequel because it messed with his mental health. It's true.
Because it just turns into this, the main character is, you are the chosen one who can go between realities in this special way because of love, and you have you're such a good person, and she's just an averagely good person. She does good things and she does bad things. There is nothing about her that is more good than about any other character. And need I remind you that one of the main characters is literally a Nazi?
Yeah, he would be though, wouldn't he?
Literally the leader of the American Nazi nation.
Yeah, in this world, America is split between a neutral zone in the middle, basically, and then it's a buffer state between the Japanese West and the German East, And if I remember correctly in the novel,
Oh,
the
it's Men in
Japanese...
the High Castle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the Nazis won. That's the premise of that book.
The Japanese society apparently is a lot more fairer and nice. Well, I mean, it's still oppressive, but it's
massively.
but it's preferable to live in than the Nazis, if I remember correctly in the book.
Yeah.
But even then, it's very. That's the thing that I like about it. It's very nuanced. Like you have, like one of the great things. Like this isn't a huge spoiler. One of the main characters is John Smith, who is the Obergruppenführer for like the American Nazi Reich. He's like a very big SS guy. And then his son, has a genetic defect and needs to be euthanized. And that just creates such an interesting character conflict. It really is tremendous. It's a really good book.
In the book
like
as well,
the
there's the I Ching, isn't there?
Very good, yeah.
Have you seen have you seen the I Ching yet in the book, and how it binds all the characters and the plot threads together?
Yeah. I think
good,
he used the I Ching to write the book too.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, though, when he was researching it created a lot of issues for him mentally. So that's why. That's why he couldn't bring himself to write another book about it. It's like the reality is bad enough. Just what they did in World War II.
Just to imagine imagine a world where they won, and then what they would do to the world, that fucks with your head.
Oh yeah,
I can fully understand that.
Especially somebody like Philip K. Dick, who was wont to have periods of depression, and he had a creative, very vivid mind. But anyway, Eye in the Sky, though, that's an interesting one. Basically what happens is there is like a accident. So people are in this... Well, first I've got to backtrack. Group of people go to this place. I think it's like an observatory, something sciencey. It's nerdy, right? And they're all there. They've all different personalities and different political beliefs. Every walk of life, right? There's... I don't know if it's lightning strikes or something happens, but there's an explosion and everyone's knocked unconscious. Then they wake up, and then it's like... reality is shifted, and then you find out. I mean, it's not. I guess it's not really a spoiler because I think it said it in the blurb of the book that basically they're in their own minds. So like the reality that they're in, that they keep shifting towards, is other people's like innermost subconscious thoughts. And one of them, and this has always stuck out to me, it's kind of creepy. One of the girls in this group is I guess their version of a conservative back in the 60s and 50s. It's 50s, yeah. So she's very prim and proper and puritanical, and in her subconscious mind she wants everybody to be sexless and free of sin and things like that, so there's no sex or anything. So people wake up, and because I think they always fall asleep when they go to different realities, and they find out they had no genitals, nothing, no boobs, no penises, vaginas, anything. It's just they're perfect. Oh, here he is. Okay, for those of you because you don't know Burger Krieg, this guy always comes out.
It's not complete until the ice cream man comes.
Yes, this ice cream man, for the past 4 years since I've been in this flat, roughly around about this time, usually 10 minutes earlier, will drive up and down and basically be an ice cream van man, but he doesn't actually sell his wares. Or does he? Yeah. It's a weird thing.
It's 9 in the evening in the winter in England.
Yes, he does this every day, every year. Yeah, this is what he does. And we have many theories as to why he does this. I personally think he's a drug dealer, but I don't know. Maybe he's mental.
There was this thing in Glasgow, right?
Yes,
where they sold drugs out of ice cream trucks.
I think that was
the ice cream wars.
Yeah, I think that was all over the place, but mainly in Glasgow. Yeah. There was something similar in Manchester, I heard. But anyway, Eye in the Sky. This world is just completely sexless, and I thought, oh my god, this is creepy as fuck. That people actually subconsciously could think about this. So anyway, you should read that one. That's next. That's really good. It's an earlier novel, but it's still very good.
Delving into people's subconscious minds is...
And bear in mind that this is creating the reality around them as well. But I can't tell you if they get out of it or not, obviously. But all his books like that, and that might have been the first one where reality bends, or people are, I guess you could say, red-pilled. So really, he invented the red pill trope, where someone realizes that reality is not what it seems, or it is just changed on them. That's what I like about his books. Even though he's my favorite author, and he didn't make my favorite novel, because originally it was Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is completely different to the book. I mean, to the film in many ways, but also very similar. Did you know
I have that book, but I haven't read it.
It's good. It's a slow one. A lot of his books are slow, but it's one of his slow ones that are still entertaining. Because most of the plot threads are the same. But apparently he did see an early version of the film before he died, because he died the year it came out. And he said, "Have you been in my brain? This is exactly how I thought the world would have looked in this book."
Damn, that is cool.
Which is weird, because I always thought it didn't look like Blade Runner in my head. But apparently that's what it looks like. I have confirmation.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to convey that kind of stuff. It's because what you want to do as an author is you don't want to put too much description of stuff into there, but you also don't want to do too little. I personally like putting in a fair bit of description, because I like to off a certain atmosphere and tone. But at the same time, a lot of stuff people will just fill in for themselves. You don't have to describe every detail. If you do that, it will just slog down the pace of the reading as such. So it's a difficult tightrope to walk. So people will have completely different interpretations of just identical works, and that is. I wish I could just look into other people's minds and see what they see when it comes to books.
Yeah. So have you? So you're an author, don't you? So do you write science fiction, or do you write different kinds of books?
I write all kinds of stuff. I also write science fiction. I have my short stories channel. It's Who is Betty, which I'm not publishing anything on right now. Actually, I'm in the final chapters of the novel that I will actually seek to publish. Which is I don't want to I'm not going to spoil anything. It is technically a science fiction novel, but it's the space western genre, Firefly. It's that, but set on a planet, not in space, and also it's not necessarily the western genre, but the riverboat western genre. So the whole riverboat shipping stuff on the Mississippi.
So set in the south, as opposed to
it's set on a different planet. It's not set on Earth.
Well, you know what I mean. If it was set on Earth, it would be in the south, as opposed to the western provinces.
And it's the focus is on the riverboat, so it doesn't necessarily touch upon the same themes as a traditional riverboat western. There's not. I mean, I suppose there's kind of themes of slavery, but it's not about that. There's no society is just multi-ethnic. That's just a thing. It would be fiction.
I think in the future anyway. I think people wouldn't care as much. I really do believe that. I do believe it'll be less and less relevant. It'd be more like, what can you bring to this colony? I don't care what you look like. What can you do? Because we need to survive here, So apart from science fiction, is there another one? Let's have a look.
Ooh, read it.
Invidious Envy again. Thank you very much, sir, for the money. Tolkien actually abandoned a Lord of the Rings sequel because he got so depressed at it. Gondor was taken over by a satanic secret society and thought it was mediocre. He could have made it work. I think he was talented enough that anything he could have written in that universe would have been good, in my opinion. But I don't know.
Man was just burnt out, dude.
Fox Troika has a hot take on Firefly, which I kind of agree on. Firefly is essentially just a copy-paste of the animes Cowboy Bebop and Outlaw Star, which are space westerns. Cowboy Bebop, well,
I've tried watching it. I've seen several episodes. I just love the aesthetic and the characters and the plot, but I cannot watch it because it is animated.
Oh, obviously.
Okay, all right. I heard you talking about this earlier. Why do you hate anime so much?
He doesn't hate it.
I do not hate anime. I just cannot stand animation. I cannot stomach it. I know that anime is good in terms of plots and characters, and there's just a huge genre of really great stuff, but I cannot stomach animation. It just hurts my brain in some way. I cannot like it. I wish I could.
It's fine. Everybody has their own taste.
Yeah. I've just never heard that come out of anybody's mouth before.
I'm similar with Western animation. I don't like 3D animation. I don't like it, and I don't like anime going into the 3D vein. I don't like it. I prefer it 2D.
I can kind of do 3D animation, but I'm not happy with it.
The only animation that I've ever like truly reviled is like, you know how like all like adult cartoons now have that shitty fucking style.
Which one?
That's all like simplistic, like Big Mouth, and to a lesser extent, F is for Family. Like I hate the way those shows look. And it's like
Big Mouth. It's just Cal Arts.
Oh yeah, wait a second. There's actually animated shows that I like.
There are?
Yeah, like Rick and Morty.
I used to like that. Then I felt the quality dipped.
Genuinely, Rick and Morty is a good show. It's the fucking community that's shit.
The first 2 seasons are classics, but then number 3 spelled the end.
Big Mouth?
Not Big Mouth, Rick and Morty.
I was gonna say Big Mouth. If you watch Big Mouth, you're a pedophile, and I'm not joking.
Well,
I don't even know what Big Mouth is.
It's meant to be a teenage thing.
Child porn.
Well,
I do want to watch.
Hold on, I'll be right back. Gotta let my dog out.
Huh. Maybe I should give some things another try if there's actually... I genuinely am just realizing this now, that there's actually animated shows that I like.
I mean, it's not for everybody. Like, you know, I really don't like 3D animation, especially the Western one, and like, I don't know, I mean, there's Toy Story, and then there's the Pixar film, most of the Pixar films from the 90s to the late 2000s that are all good. Well, most of them are good. There's some that I don't quite like.
The moment you mentioned Rick and Morty, I remembered a vocal synthesis video that I found. Just JFK reading the Rick and Morty.
Anyway, so what I was trying to ask you before we got to end the stream in about 10 minutes, but because this is what I was thinking earlier. Like we do the antithesis of EFAP and other podcasts. We go on for as short as possible. But what fantasy do you read? Because, you know, I was going to mention like Lord of the Rings and things like that. Would you read anything else apart from that? That's fantasy.
I'm not a huge fan of Lord of the Rings for the wrong reasons, because all of the tropes that it uses are way played out, which is super unfair as a characterization and a complaint, because Lord of the Rings is the thing that popularized those tropes in the first place. But me having grown up in a world where elves, dwarves, and orcs are just standard, to me, it's too old school. It's too hero's journey to the thing that it's always been. Even though it's just the thing that it's always been because it was so incredibly iconic. I am a fan of fantasy. I don't think I read as much fantasy as I do science fiction. I am currently reading a fantasy book. It's A Shadow of the Conqueror by Shadam Brooks. He's a YouTuber, Shadiversity.
Shadiversity, yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading his book right now. Yeah,
I was thinking, I heard the name. I thought, is that Shad?
Yeah, it's Shad. It's him. This is like the first like hard fantasy book I'm reading. I have the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. A lot of people are recommending to me to read that also. I am a big fan of like urban fantasy. Like, for instance, Harry Potter or the Dresden Files. But classic fantasy, I was way more into when I was younger. I think there's a lot of stuff there that I still have to read, but it's sometimes very intimidating because it's so huge. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Song of Ice and Fire series.
Oh, yeah,
but that's just a masterclass in writing, in general.
Dude,
it's literally one of the best book series of all time.
Oh, dude, I found out something really funny about the author. Oh, fuck, what's his name again?
G.R.R. Martin?
J.R.R. Martin?
G, that's not J.
G,
George,
sorry.
Yeah.
George?
So apparently, like, you know, he thought his ancestry was Italian for his whole life. And it turns out the person he thought was his grandfather was not his grandfather.
Well, that happened to me in real life, so...
No, yeah. It was really funny, because they, like, tested his, like, second or third cousin, or one of his family members, and the person... That was his grandfather. But, like, they didn't share the same grandfather. It was fucking hilarious. Like, where he should have had Italian, like, a quarter Italian, he had a quarter Ashkenazi Jewish.
Somebody cheated. I would love to do one of those tests, right?
Oh, I did.
I'd say I feel like it's with my financial status, it's like an expense that I cannot justify. But I'd love to do one.
I've done two
my
of them.
mother got one. Did one for me
Just
for my
find
16th
out
birthday.
that I'm 1/4 Jewish.
I have
and
no
Yeah.
Jewish in
Dude,
me.
I'm surprised
Somebody
I'm not
was
Jewish.
able to keep quiet.
See,
Yeah.
I don't have any. I kind of wish that I did, just so it would be funny to see
Kinda-
what some of the farmer right types. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you who Keith Woods is because we were mentioning him earlier. Right, so basically he is what you would call a alt-right YouTuber, but he's a meme.
Okay.
This is not political. This is a meme on the channel. He goes beyond politics now. Really, am I right, guys?
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
He's a
my
lol
lord.
cow, and he has really silly takes on Twitter.
Let's be honest. Pretty much all alt-right people.
Obviously,
are
yeah.
lolcows.
But-
I have
Yeah.
never met a single one of them or a single take of theirs that wasn't laughable.
But the
do
best
go
thing
on.
about
My
this
favorite
guy
one
is,
was Millennial Woes' that he thinks he's in favor of slavery.
but the best
Ah.
no, but the
Have you
best
heard
thing
that
about
one?
Keith is that I got blocked and created a meme about him. So what happened was, he made a video where he said work was killing his soul, which to be fair is understandable, but he makes it out like he just doesn't like working at all. So I joked. Well, I also got the impression he didn't have a job. He just quit for the hell of it because he seemed quite pampered. But it turns out he did have a job. But I thought, you know what, let's just troll him, see where this goes. So I created this meme where he's unemployed and he's searching for a job. And he blocked me over it because he thought it was slander, and it wasn't. I was literally making it very obvious I was trolling. And he took the bait, and he asked me if I was Jewish. He asked me if I was Jewish. And I asked him, why are you asking me that? And then he the more I asked questions, the more he thought I was. So then I thought, well, let's just embrace it. So now I'm now the chief rabbi of the liberalists on Twitter.
You know what?
Oh, that's where that name comes
Yeah.
from. Yeah.
And then I created this meme that was adopted by a lot of other people, where we just say, has Keith got a job yet? You just ask the question, Keith, have you got a job yet? Has he
Dude,
got a
I
job?
completely forgot to ask Keith if he has a job on my other Twitter account. Let me
Yeah.
do that real quick.
At
You know
one
what?
point,
I'm gonna ask Keith if he has a job, and I'm gonna type it in Hebrew.
but at one point, somebody who watches the channel called Teabag, he actually added Indeed and Reed plus Keith to say, dear Indeed and Reed, this is our friend Keith. He's currently unemployed and we need him to get a job. And they responded and said, good luck, Keith. You can get a job. We know it's hard trying to find a job.
How do you spell his name? Is it K?
It's K, yeah. Even though he's Irish, it's a K.
Is
I
it
love
K-I-E or E-I?
EI, isn't it? Yeah.
I love when fucking alt-right people try to be sneaky about like being alt-right, and then they'll just funny how 13% of the population and they just expect other people to end the thought that they're starting with a racist conclusion, and it's like, no, maybe it turns out that poor people are more likely to commit violent crime, and the fact that it's 13% of the population doing so much of the violent crime, it's because 13% of the population is incredibly poor due to centuries
Well, that's
and
just
decades
that's just the
of fucking
population of
racist oppression.
Well, that's just the amount of percentage of black people in the US. It's actually much less than 13. It's
Yeah, I mean, obviously
you
it's
know,
not.
yeah,
It's but that's the false equivalent. It's like all black people.
I mean,
just
I'm not
commit
gonna lie.
50%
I have
violent
engaged in
crimes. Like, no.
ironic use of that meme, but
Oh yeah, I do all the time.
Oh, it's great using it ironic because it's the best way to mock alt-right people.
or even the SJW.
Even though it's true.
I find they don't
fucking
like it
love
either.
it.
So you just type it in 1350.
But it's such a dumb demonstration of how to not be able to do statistics and statistical analysis. It's dumb.
Oh, it is, but it's
so
so
glad
fucking
that I've taken statistics classes before, so I just know when people are being bullshit.
It's taking
with
on a life of its
statistics.
own, this meme, though. Like now, most people who I talk about Keith Woods will just think he has no. Even though they know he has a job, they just think unemployed, get him a job.
yeah. Yeah, and to be fair, and most of the crime that does occur, it only happens in one subsection of the city. So, like, where I am, North St. Louis is, like, the bad area. But even then, all the crime is subjugated to, like, one triangle and, like, the far north part of the city. So it's not even all bad.
I wonder what the socioeconomics of that area look like.
Oh my god, it's fucking awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there you have it.
Dude, like, North St. Louis is just as bad as like fucking Detroit. It's even worse in some aspects. Like, I had to pick up my sister because one of her friends lives there, and everybody was looking at me like, telling me with their eyes to get the fuck out, but in a nice way, out of like concern, out of my safety. you know what I mean?
It's like Samuel L. Jackson's character in fucking Die Hard.
Yeah, it was that. It wasn't like a death stare like, you need to get the fuck out here, cracker. It was, oh my god, this poor little suburban white boy has no business being here. Somebody has to help him. It was out of just sheer like, he is gonna die.
Nah, you gotta leave. They're gonna kill your ass.
Dude, literally, yeah, it was that. It's like, god damn.
I don't know. I've walked through.
I don't know, because like I've met nice people from the hood. It's
most people who just live in abject poverty are also just decent people.
Yeah, it's
they're the number one victims of gang violence.
Yeah, they are. It's really yeah. It's like, yeah. I love black people. Trust me.
I don't know. I've walked through what people would consider rough areas and walked at the other side with no issues. Nobody's told me you need to leave. Yeah. I just walked through.
Damn.
I walk through.
Yeah.
I mind my business. I mind myself. I don't bother people, and they don't bother me.
Yeah. I'm not homophobic. I have black friends.
But I used to live in a place called Old Trafford. That's where I'm from, and it's a very interesting area. And there's there's literally good bits and bad bits. They're right next to each other. And I've lived in the good bit and the bad bit, and in both places it's just every neighbours will be nice to each other. You can make friends, but as long as you don't bother anybody, nobody bothers you. Like, again, there are gangs there, not as much. I don't know how many there are. There was one gang that I know of that had issues with one of my neighbours, but they didn't have issues with me. They didn't, or anybody else. It was just that one person or family.
Speaking of something like that,
they don't randomly attack people like that. They have to have a reason to attack you, and they had no reason to attack me. And they've even left my bedroom for years.
I have to go check my doorbell real quick.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll be ending soon. But anyway, at one point the police were called after I came home from school because they'd let off a gun in the house next door.
Yeah.
Nobody got killed or anything.
When Burger comes back, I have a fucking excellent.
That was weird.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, you're back. I don't know. Yeah. My story of going through North St. Louis reminded me of something.
Mm-hmm.
I found a documentary about gang violence in St. Louis, and it was made by this British dude. And he just has random shots of him walking through the city, and then like everybody around him, he's like, "What the fuck's this Anglo fag doing here?"
Is it Louis Theroux by any chance? I don't know.
No, he's like on the bus, right? The most dangerous bus system in the goddamn country, and everybody's like, "What the fuck is this dude doing here?"
Is
and
it
they're
Louis
like even
Theroux?
more weirded
Does he
out.
have glasses on?
Yeah. They're even more weirded out when he tries to like talk to them. He's like,
Hello.
"Wait, you're not even like from here, dude."
What's it like living in St. Louis?
What's it like living in an area with lots of gang violence? It's like,
is it Louis Theroux?
it's not Louis Theroux. I forget his name.
How you doing?
I love.
I'll find the
Theroux.
documentary.
I love Louis
and link it
Theroux.
to you guys.
Have you seen the one where he interviews the black nationalists and he asked like
I have
Beethoven?
not.
Black.
That is one that he has done. That's cool.
That was good. Oh yeah. Best part
crazy.
is when he interviewed some like family that like had lost a son to gang violence. It's like, wow, this is interesting. It was an interesting documentary. It's just that some of the shots where like people were looking at him funny were fucking.
Then there was like one bit where he goes, Shakespeare, black as hell, or something like that.
I saw.
It might not have been Shakespeare, but it was somebody who the guy really liked. I guess he was a musician, I think. It's like, black as hell, mate.
Black as hell, brother.
How do you believe that? How do you believe that?
Oh, then he showed like a picture of Vikings. It's like, look at the color of their skin.
Yeah, they're not.
That one?
When it comes to like black nationalists, like the Hotep guys, it's some weird shit.
Dude, the Hotep. I used to follow them on Twitter because I found them funny, but then I unfollowed all of them because I was just like, this is too much.
I remember I was in London and I walked past the Black Hebrew Israelites. They're nothing like they are in America, weirdly enough, considering it's London, and in London, it's just arsehole central. But they were surprisingly muted. They were they were preaching, but they weren't being arseholes like in America.
I want to fuck with protesters. That seems so fun.
Well, they weren't protesting. They were. Preaching.
I know, but like I love to fuck with those people. Because like one time I went up to like a fucking pro-choice person and just started like telling like the worst dad jokes about abortion. She got really mad at me,
You would think they'd laugh at that, wouldn't they?
No, it was for my entertainment. I didn't give a shit about them.
So anyway, what were you going to say, Burgerkrieg?
Wasn't there this thing in New York recently where the Black Hebrew Israelites attacked like Jewish Hebrew
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Israelites?
yes. There were so
attacking
many
Asians now.
anti-Semitic attacks by black nationalists and just black people in general.
They're
Main
attacking
cause
Asians. They're attacking
Yeah.
Asians now.
main cause is that in areas of North Jersey or that were predominantly black areas in the last 10 years, a bunch of like Hasidic Jews and Orthodox Jews started moving in and setting up communities. And the black people didn't like it, so a few of them, and obviously not most black people, but a few of them were like, "Oh, fuck these crackers," and then got out like weapons and shit and started.
Yeah, they thought that
killing
the
them.
stuff that was for sale was their property, even though it isn't their property, and wanted a piece of the pie. It's like, mate, you have to actually buy the building or rent the building.
I'm gonna,
you know,
for the end of the stream, I'm gonna leave you with one of the worst things that exists in the world.
Go on.
This is a cartoon it's not a cartoon, it's like a kids show made by a Jewish Orthodox community, Jewish Orthodox or I don't know, Hasidic.
I live near them.
They do
I
use
love them.
technology.
The Jewish Orthodox Hasidics don't use technology.
They
Okay,
don't
the
that
Jewish
much.
Orthodox, they do like a kids show where they give kids like, you know, they impart values on kids, which is what you do with a kids show, and they do this by way of using a mascot. You know, like Barney the dinosaur, for instance.
Oh no.
And the mascot of this show
Shlomo Shuckelstein.
is the I saw the Navy SEALs copy pasta read by Slavoj Žižek. That was amazing.
Oh, I saw the one, but it was Milton Friedman.
So the name of this mascot is Five-ish,
Oh my god.
right? It's Five-ish,
Five-ish.
and it's green. And I'm gonna leave you guys up to guess what it is.
Is it money?
Because it's not an animal.
Is it
It's
money?
a bean. It's a maize bean.
It's money,
No.
isn't it?
It's a maize
Yes,
bean.
it's a stack of $5 bills. It lit just the most racist thing.
And this was made by Jews.
This was made by Orthodox Jews as children's like programming.
I knew it was going to be money because you said it was green. I thought, what's green? That's not an
Burger,
animal.
calm down, dude. You're gonna get fucking arrested.
This is a genuine, real thing that exists, and I don't remember who said this, but on some like fucking Dirtbag Left podcast that I watch, somebody said it's like the Expendables of anti-Semitism getting together and making a kids show.
Anyway, I think with that we will end the podcast. So anyway, Burgerkrieg, thank you for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having
You're
me.
welcome anytime.
Thanks for being on.
We will always have people back on. We've had Clossington several times. He's now a
Scotch
YouTuber.
recently.
Scott Joycos twice. So
We even
last...
had our rock enthusiast Haryan.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, Harrian.
Yeah.
The rock thought.
Also,
anyway,
speaking
he's
of
a geologist.
Scotch, I have an announcement.
He's a geologist, Burgerkrieg. That's why.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, he's qualified anyway.
He's a rock fucker.
So anyway, any last words, Burgerkrieg? We always have a last words at the end.
Oh, you should have told me to.
Ting
this
tang,
is
walla walla,
the
ring, ring.
thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about that. Anything, you can say anything.
The N word.
Oh no!
Don't
I
be there.
am so stressed out now. Everybody, you are.
That's it. That's your last words.
Shut up, Alcazar.
No, everybody listening, watching the stream, or who will ever hear these words, know that you're a valuable human being who is appreciated and loved, and you deserve to love yourself, because even though you might not think it, there is value in you, and you're a unique person, and you can find your way, and it's okay to feel bad from time to time.
Wow, we are not worthy of such high.
You're not
high
worthy.
words. What are you going to say, Alcazar? What do you want to say? Last words.
I will be live streaming Super Tuesday results with Scotch Oikos and several
Yeah, and
other
I'm gonna
people
get you back on that.
Oikos' channel.
And Chicago, what do you want to say?
Always keep a trash bag in your car. Then when it gets filled up, you can toss it out of the window somewhere.
That's very useful. And my last words
Great.
are Keith Woods, get a job.